Hey, thanks for watching. I'm going to talk unedited. I'm not going to edit this. I'm going to talk about teams. I found before when I go to shoot video, just tell it like it is, be real, be authentic, and I'll share what I can. So what I'm going to talk about here are teams, team building. I get a lot of questions about team. You know, I've been a real estate instructor now for 12 years. I love teaching, absolutely love teaching. And a lot of times teaching is just simply an exchange of ideas. No one of us is smarter than all of us. So I'm going to take a lot of the information I've gotten from other people, things I've seen. The brain is a pattern-seeking device. I love seeing patterns. I love seeing the consistency. I love seeing what works for some, what doesn't work for others. And I've been part of a team for a long time. My wife essentially and ultimately is runs the team, and my two daughters are on that team. We've got a couple other people as part of that. We have a transaction coordinator, a marketing director. So been there, done that. We've been doing it for quite a while. So first and foremost, I'm going to talk about this, like anything else. Number one, is a team right for you? What are your goals? Do you want to do more business? Are you operating for pride, or are you operating for profit? Because there is a difference. Some people, they want the accolades. They want the awards. You know, I've got some behind me. I've got a few awards. We've been in business a long time, and I myself personally have never been after those awards. But that's okay if you are. I love recognition. I love attention. And there are a lot of ways to get that. And awards are fun. You know, I like to keep it in perspective. So if you're after the accolades, the awards, the rankings, that's fine. As I say, nicely said, you do you. Be yourself. Be yourself. Be after whatever it is that you want to be after. But then if you're operating for profit, you got to ask yourself, number one, do you have enough lead generation to keep a buyer's agent happy? Do you have enough lead generation to keep two happy, 3, 4, 5? And what is the goal? Do you want to, as a team leader, do you want to simply never show property again? That was my goal at one time. I said, hey, I'm never showing property ever again. I did not like showing buyers out there for the world to see. Those that are close to me, great. But as a rule of thumb, no, I'm not passionate about being a buyer's agent. And other people are. So guess what? That's what they need to do. They need to go show properties. What about listing agents? Do you want somebody to list the property? You want somebody to be a contact? Because listing property is stressful. It is very stressful. You have somebody, hey, why is my house not selling? Can we get creative? Can you do this? Can you do that? You feel some pressure. So you need to keep something in mind here. When it comes to buyers and sellers, there are two different animals. A buyer is one animal. We'll say a buyer's kind of like a dog, and a listing is kind of like a cat. Well, cats and dogs don't always get along real well. So they really are two different animals. And so without going into further detail, we'll just say that. But one more thing. Buyers want to enjoy the experience. You know, sellers want to enjoy the experience, but they want to know if you're good enough. Are you good enough? Are you good enough? Are you good enough? Can you get my house sold? Buyers aren't really asking that. They're saying, hey, can you get me in the house? Can you get me in the house? Can you help me? Can you put the houses in front of me? Can you keep it in front of me? So a lot of pressure in being a listing agent, not so much being a buyer's agent. So back to teams. Do you have enough leads to go around? And how many leads do you have? How many buyer's agents can you afford to have? Because what you don't want is you want buyer's agents coming and going, because once you give those leads away, ultimately you give those leads away, and you give those leads away forever, regardless if you sign a contract. Sometimes these team leaders have this, contract signed, and they say, those leads are mine for the next 2 years, the next 5 years, or whatever, and you say to yourself, or you need to say to yourself, hey, you know what? If you didn't work with them, they don't know you, they are Gandhi, baby. They're out of here. You're not getting them back. So you got to be willing to admit that, accept that. Those buyer leads, those clients you give away, they're gone for good, as a rule of thumb, on average. Okay? Second thing, it's maybe more important, so I'm not doing this in any particular order. You got to get the right people. You got to get the right people. If they're really, really good, they're not going to be buyer's agent very long. And good for them. And you yourself got to be happy to see them succeed and grow and prosper and move on. Other people, they say, no, you know what? I don't want the paperwork. I don't want the back end. I don't want to deal with any of it. I just want leads. I just want to sell. I just want to show. I just want to work with people. And that's fine. That's fine. But you got to get the right people. So what do you have to do then? Well, imagine, just like interviewing. You're a small business. If you're a team leader, you are immediately and instantly a small business. Can you set expectations? Are you good at finding those people? Are you good at identifying those people? Because if you can identify those people who say, hey, I like buyers, I like people, I'm good at this, this, and this, but I don't want to deal with everything else. I'm not after the accolades, I'm not after the awards and the numbers and the ranks. I just want to make some money. I want to enjoy my experience. I want to enjoy my job. Great, that person's an ideal buyer's agent. And sometimes new agents need to be on a team as well. So if you find somebody that's fantastic, which in time you will, you just have to identify, are they fantastic in the fact that they're not going to be here long? You just have to be okay with knowing that, hey, they might move on. And from my standpoint, great. As a broker owner, I just say, I just hope you stay. I just hope you stay here and continue your own business, and maybe you too will develop a team. So teams are great for people wanting to get started, lead generation. It's really expensive today to generate leads. If the market slows a little bit, as what we're seeing right now, is a lot of these team leaders are having to spend a lot of money to generate these leads. And can they afford to give away their leads as well? Pay for the leads, give away the leads, and still continue on with your lifestyle? Well, right now we're seeing that a lot of teams are, you know what, I will retract and say I don't know about a lot, because I don't want to quantify that. I want to leave this very open and subjective. There are some teams who are reducing the number of buyer's agents because they don't have the lead gen. They don't have the capacity, they don't have the horsepower. They have the inability to generate those leads for their team members. And then those team members get a little disgruntled. And understandably so. We all have to make a living, right? So that's the second part. Are you going to get somebody, because longevity, as we know, I've hired a lot of employees over the years, it's great when they stay. It's fantastic when they stay. If they can stay, you know how hard it is to hire people, find good people? It's tough. So you want to get people to stay. So the third part is, are you able to handle and manage the expectations? Are you a business owner? That's a tough question. Sometimes you might, or you will hear people say, excuse me, blah, blah, blah. A little tough time talking here today. You're going to find out whether you're a business owner or not, because being a business owner, even a real estate leader, means that you have to manage people. And there are a lot of different personality types out there. No two people are going to be the same. You're going to have two people very different, and you might have you have to manage the jealousy, the animosity, which you really have to worry about. And not say worry, I take that back. Again, this is unedited. You have to be able to say, is Joe going to be okay with Jane if Jane seems to be doing more business? Are they going to feel like, oh, the team leader is giving Jane, or Joe's going to say the team leader is giving Jane more leads than me, and are they going to feel that way? How are you going to handle it? How are you going to manage that? There's some things in place. You just have to be very transparent. And you know what you have to be? You have to be believable. You have to look right at them and say, hey, I'm going to give you, this is how it's set up. Let them see how it's set up. For instance, if you have a setup where calls come in, whoever takes the call first gets the lead. And sometimes even then they say, how come they're answering the phone faster than me? How come they have better reception? Whatever it is. I don't know. But the phone calls come in, Jane is getting more calls or getting to them faster than Joe, and you have to be able to say, hey, Jane, Joe has not gotten any leads. Do you mind if I turn this off for 2 days to let Joe get a couple leads? You know what Jane might do? Jane might say, oh, that's totally fine, that's fine. Or Jane might say, no, I've worked for it. I'm answering the phone, I am there to pick up the call. Absolutely not. Those are the situations you deal with. I'm not going to tell you exactly how to deal with that one, but something like that. The reality is you're going to be in situations like that. So when you're a team leader, those are things you got to balance. You got to balance expectations, and you have to be a good counselor. You have to be a good advisor. You have to be able to say, okay, you're going to have to work that out. You're going to have to work that out. So once again, people say they want to grow their team. What are some ways to set it up where maybe you want to become like a brokerage within a brokerage, per se, kind of, sort of, figuratively speaking. figuratively speaking, and let that person have a number of agents. They can work with it. They can maybe have a team of 10 people. Now that's a pretty good sized team. And if you have 10 people within, do you have enough lead gen? Or maybe you just simply say, hey, I'm going to teach them how to generate their own leads. So then at that point, are you good at teaching them? Are you good at helping them to generate their own leads? Are you a good teacher, instructor, mentor? Are you good at supporting them? Because they're going to get a lot of, you as the team leader are getting a lot of calls at night. And I say as a broker, again, I've been doing this, I just got to think about this, going on my, my 15th year as a broker owner. I get more calls between 6 p.m. and 10 p.m. than I do between 8 and 5. So you get a lot of calls in that period of time. And I enjoy it. I like that. Nothing on TV. Nothing good on TV anyway. So I enjoy that part. I really do like taking those calls. So are you going to be okay with taking calls, working through situations, handling objections? If you're like me, I enjoy that. If you don't like that and that's what you're getting away from, know that that's what's going to happen. They're going to come to you. Then someone says, well, no, wait a second. I'm on my team. I'm going to have a person that they call for that. Okay, great. So you know what you need to do? You need to make a list of the things you want to do and a list of the things you don't want to do. And then you better have somebody in place to do all the things that you don't want to do. That's the other very important part. Make a list. Sit down and think, hey, I want to do this, this, and this, and this, and I want to do this, this, and this, and I don't want to do these other things. Now, another question that comes up is selling. Well, I don't want to compete with my, I've heard this before for years. No, I don't want to compete with my broker. We don't compete with you. You know what? But the reality is you're competing with somebody all the time. It's always the client's decision. Just the fact that you both know the same person and they decide to work with one and not the other, that's just healthy competition. For instance, as a broker owner, if someone comes along and they're a really good friend of mine and they're also a really good friend of another agent, but I've known them longer, and they decide, hey, Bill, we want to work with you as a broker owner. Well, first of all, I'm probably going to say, hey, you know what, go work with so-and-so. But if they come along and say, you know what, no, I want to work with you, then I have to have a candid conversation and say, hey, Jane, I'm really sorry, but a good friend of mine, they are adamant that they work with me. I tried to get them your way. That's not their decision. That's not what they want. Are you okay with that? Are you okay with it? You got to be diplomatic. Are you okay with it? If they say, yeah, I'm okay, I understand. If they're not okay with it, say, you know what, I will take the listing then. Now, here's where, hopefully, Jane, and they say, well, then they're probably going to go to C21. For whatever reason, you said they're a good friend, but they didn't want to mix business with pleasure. What kind of friend are they? They said, well, we're going to go to C21 or another brokerage, or they're going to go to KW or whatever it is. If that person says, yeah, I just don't want you to have it, you know what? You got the wrong person on the team. Right then and there. If that person can't be happy and have good sportsmanship, then you've got the wrong person on the team. So there again, as I said back to number 2, you got to find the right people. You also always have to find people that are happy for the success of others and stay away from jealousy. Jealousy is a bad thing. Jealousy is one of the most prominent bad characteristics, that exist today. Jealousy ruins the lives of a lot of people. Takes away the happiness of a lot of people. Comparison, jealousy, there's no need for it. You just, you got to find the right people that are not that. And you need to set that tone right off the bat too. You need to set that tone. So again, if some agents say, we don't want to compete with you, I always say, hey, have at it, take them. What if the broker's not like that? Well, then again, you might have a problem here again. You might have the wrong person. But even within, you're going to have some situations where you have two buyer's agents on your team. They work with this buyer's agent over here, we said Joe, and they also worked with Jane, unbeknownst to the other. They didn't know that they worked with one another. So now Joe is ticked off. He found out that they've been seeing houses with Jane, and Jane's now ticked off that Joe didn't tell her, and vice versa. What are you going to do? How are you going to handle that? That's going to happen. Well, a lot of ways you can handle it. There's no one way is right more than the other. You probably have to come together and say, hey, you know what you do? Who does the client want to work with? You got to encourage the client to pick one. And whoever they pick, may the best person win. Or some people might say, hey, we're going to split it no matter what, or we're going to give this person a referral fee for their time put in. That's fine. Whatever's agreed upon. There's no one way to do that. There's no one way, okay? A lot of ways to skin a cat. A lot of ways to skin a cat. All right? But those are the things you're going to have to deal with. And you say, how do you grow them? Is another question I get asked. How do you grow? Well, like anything else, how do you grow? You know, the same way you grow your business. You go out and you work at it. You try to find people, try to find the right people, and you just keep working at it. And if you're good at it, you'll get them. If you're good at it, you'll get them. Now, keep in mind, you don't want to outgrow again. For the second time, I'm being a little repetitive. You don't want to outgrow yourself. You don't want to put yourself in a situation where you don't have enough lead gen, you don't have enough time, you don't have enough support, and you also don't want to make sure that you just want to grow just to grow and just bring people on that are not the right people. You need to be patient. It takes time because it does. It just takes time. Anything that's good is difficult. If it happens too easy, too fast, it might be too good to be true. You know, might be too good to be true. So think about that. Know thyself is what I always say. I said to everybody, know thyself. Other than that, like I tell new agents, there's always a little bit of this too. Get out there and start screwing up. Get out there and find out. We can talk in theory all we want. We can take all the classes we want. We can talk about training all we want. The best training is real life experience. I say to the young people, if you want to go out and get trained, get clients, get buyers, get sellers, the teacher will appear when the student is ready. And I'm here to tell you, when an agent has had buyers and sellers, I will tell you that the teacher will appear because now the student, the agent, who is the student, is ready. They've seen, what could I have done differently now? Because you know what? All that stuff you've learned in class, it's kind of all theory until you've been there, done that. And once you've been there, done that, now you know what you're up against. Now you know what you're up against. You say, oh, now I know why so-and-so said that. Oh, now I know why they taught us this. Now I know why they're talking about whatever it may be. All makes sense now, doesn't it? It's got to make sense. That's the hard part of being an instructor, is when you're up there, you're sitting there telling your students, telling your audience what it is they need to know, but it doesn't really pertain. They've not been there. It just doesn't stick. There's no traction. So that's the hard part too. So anyway, back to the team leader. Yeah, you know what? Get out and try it. You'll figure it out. Some of the best advice ever. I've mentored some other people get into the business to be brokers, and I said, hey, you know everything you need to know. You've got all the information you need. You know what you need? You need confidence. You need me to tell you, you can do it. You can do it. You'll figure it out. You're smart. Get out there, start screwing up. You'll figure it out. You know, if you're waiting for the answer and need to know everything before you start, you may not even start. So, hey, good luck to you. You can do it. Thanks for watching.